I chose meaningful work in the beginning because that was one of my lower categories. And I talked with the students, and some of them they weren't sure what busy work even meant and what meaningful meant. So we went over, that why am I giving work? Am I giving it just to punish them, or am I giving it to them for a reason, either for their immediate future or their far away future? So I was trying to explain that why is math important? So I started after the first survey, and I did videos where I showed them, because I usually do a motivational Monday. So I always have a motivational video, but it's just not necessarily math related. It's just a motivational video. So then I went into doing specifically, why is math important? What kind of skills do you get from learning math or being good in math? What kind of careers for math? So when the second survey came back, it went up a little bit, and I said, well, what else can I do to do it? And I had found a bunch of articles about, like, if kids make it to algebra 2 or higher, they're more successful in college, or things about, like, if they fail 6th grade, they have a very small percentage of getting through high school. They usually drop out. So there was a lot of different articles that I found about why, like, focusing on math is super important. So I said, well, instead of me trying to convince them, maybe they can convince themselves. So I thought, I'll let them all do a presentation where I give them the materials and the articles, but and I opened the categories up. They could do a poster, they could do a video, they could do a PowerPoint, any form of medium. And I said, even if you get up there and you sing and song and dance, but no one chose song and dance, but I said, just something where they're going to prove to the rest of the people why math is important. I said, you're going to persuade your audience. So we had choose videos, and they weren't all of course professional, but we had one that was really, really good standout. So I called them the best in show of the videos. And then I picked, most of them did PowerPoints or slideshows. So I picked best in show for each of the classes. And we have houses, so I gave like 100 house points for each of the winners. I baked for the winners. So they all got really great, prizes for participating. So I'm going to start with just showing you the video. And hopefully you can all see and hear this.
According to the article, will studying math make you richer? This graph shows that the higher level math you take in high school leads to a higher probability of earning a bachelor's degree.
Why is math important?
Because it's the basis of your whole life, whether it's how much you get paid, or how much you're going to pay for rent, or what time of the day it is in another country. You're going to always have numbers to depend on for the rest of your life, whether you do something in a math field or not.
¿Por qué son importantes las matemáticas? Porque son parte de tu vida. Son aquellas que tú vas a utilizar siempre, ya sea en la cocina, para trabajar, en la cosa. Para donde quiera tú necesitas las matemáticas. Así que póngase para su número y póngase a estudiar matemáticas, ¿sabe?
According to the article, Get Rich by Any More Math, it says that taking math courses matters. Research studies have established that the more math classes students take, the higher their earnings and 10 years later. With advanced math courses predicting an increase in salary as high as 19.5%, 10 years after.
Why is math important?
Matemáticas es importante porque es una lengua universal. Las matemáticas las necesitas en la vida diaria. Todo el tiempo estás usando matemáticas en la cocina, en los viajes. Tienes que asegurarte de que sepas muy bien las matemáticas en todo el sentido.
That 81% of students who fail a math course in 6th grade fail to graduate in high school.
Why is math important? Math is very important for every single human because we need math for everything. Since we wake up with the alarm clock till we go to bed, we need math for every single thing in life.
Why is math important?
Math is very important because math is everywhere you look. Math is around you. It's important to know how to add, subtract, multiply, and all that good stuff so you can be ahead of the game. Go math.
This graph shows that people who take Algebra 2 or higher in high school have a better chance to attend college.
I think math is important because you use it in your everyday life. Or how young or how old, you're always going to be involved in math in some way, shape, or form.
Algebra 2 correlates strongly with finishing high school and graduating college, which means you'll be thriving in a workforce.
Oops. So that, and they decided on interviews. I didn't give them that necessarily, that direction, but they chose to do that. So they were asking the secretary and the ESE speech teacher and the just everybody that was staff there. That was the history teacher at the end. So they took it upon themselves to ask other people why it's important to convince their audience. I did, out of the articles, told them they had to do quotes from the articles and graphs from the articles. So that's why they slid those in there in between so they could still hit all the pieces that they needed to do. For the PowerPoints, I had a lot of these are my best in show. This right here is my 6th grade one. And I teach actually advanced 5th graders all the way up to 8th graders, and I teach several different subjects. So their levels are vary greatly. But what I wanted to show you is this particular group was really cute. When they got up, the first slide was like, let's see how good you are at math. And they got the audience, the other students, involved, and they were asking them questions and the kids were answering. And it was just a really neat process because this also was them being creative on their own and trying to figure out how to persuade the audience. But they had the kids trying to get 196 times 9. And so they're like, oh, wait, what this is? And they were kind of getting of course, trying to figure that out in their head. And then somebody shouted out the answer after they wrote it down. But it was cute to have the kids up at the front trying to get the audience involved. And, if you're going to build a house, you're going to need to know how to do area. But so this is a 6th grade slide, and I'm just going to forward through it real quickly. A lot of kids chose similar graphs, even though they had 3 of the articles had a lot of different graphs that they could choose, but they all really liked that they would get paid more and that they could get out of college with getting better math skills. So like I said, this is a 6th grade and a lot of them put bulldogs in because I do everything with bulldogs, including like some of my tests are like complete bulldogs all through the questions. So they had to throw in a couple so they could make the teacher happy. But this is a 6th grade one. And then just very quickly, just to tell you the sheer differences, this is my geometry, my geometry girls. So it's the total other end. So those were kind of more my younger ones, and these are my older ones. And just by the way, I didn't grade them on like grammar or anything like that. Our school is mainly, by the time they're in our 8th grade, there's probably about 40% of them still ELL, but we start all off at ELL, almost 100%, because we have 99% Hispanic. So I wanted them to focus more on why math is important and to buy into that rather than buy into, did I capitalize and did I not? So I just remember this. So just in case you're seeing something like that. But again, they use the same kind of ideas. They wanted to make sure that you would know that you're going to be more likely to be employed if you can get better at math. But they had some more ideas outside of just the articles. And I think somewhere in there, like right here, she's like, if you ask me, I'd rather have a better future and higher wages than be unemployed. And then they said something about where you can use math, like different skills. And they wrote things like, you basically need math for every day, the rest of your life. So they're like, and when they were up there, they were very convincing. I'm like, wow, That makes sense. And assist children with homework. That wasn't in any of the articles, but I think they know that their parents can't assist them. So I think they were, and I was like, oh my gosh, they put the parent in there. So they came up with even more ideas than what, and then these kids say all of these jobs use math. So the whole thing was just logos of where you would use math. So I just thought they had a really creative slide, and it goes further. But anyways, that's my thing. I think they did realize that math is important, and most of them were on board with explaining to other people why it was important.
Thanks, Kalynn. I'm going to open the floor up for questions or comments if anyone has anything.
I love this for so many reasons. One of the challenges that I have with general ed population is that when am I going to use this in real life? How is pre-algebra and algebra relevant? And I can talk about algebraic thought and just having broad strokes, but like proof is in the pudding. And doing something like this, like I like this idea as something I may want to emulate to force them to prove to me and prove to yourselves like this is relevant skills, and the practice demonstrates it just in data. So I think it's cool.
Thank you. I'm actually going to do this again at the beginning of the year. And even though I've had these students, I want them to come up with something else, something more creative, or step up what they did. I was just a little bit scared because it's so close to FSA that I actually, spent so much time on it because the kids did work on it quite a bit. But I like the idea, and almost everyone, even my low level classes, and I didn't show, but I also told them they could make posters, and I had several of them make posters, and they still had everything I wanted. They drew the graphs. They did all the stuff that they needed to, but I even got kids that normally do not, like I struggle to get them to do work. They did it. I had only one person who was out of 141 kids who did not really participate, and he just finished his. Everybody else was on time, they presented, and it was just a great participation.
My question is, since doing the project, have you noticed any changes as far as motivation with some kids who may have questioned or not really put forth any effort in doing math? Have you seen changes in them wanting to do more and try harder?
A tiny bit. I would say only I can see it in the grades, because sometimes I would have kids just hanging out of the DNF, and I actually only have 2 Ds right now out of the 141. And so I think that somewhere, and even when I'm talking to some, like my 8th grade pre-algebra, so they have yet to pass an FSA, and I've got still 10 of them or 11. And I said, so I'm talking to them going, it's really important, you want to get that FSA passed, you want to get into algebra next year, because remember, you want to hit that algebra 2. So if you hit algebra, and even if you get a 2-year algebra, then you get geometry and algebra 2 by the time you're in 12th grade. So at least we can bring up that conversation. And I see some of their heads like shaking while I'm talking, like, yeah, I want to pass it. So I'm hoping that it is translating to them changing their mind about math.
Okay.
Because I didn't usually bring up why you use it, except like if I'm explaining, yeah, this could be used if you're debating between, 2 linear programs and you want to see, which one is, but they're like, okay, when am I going to get in 2 cabs and, figure this thing out? So this was really like how I succeed with math is going to help my future.
Okay. Yeah. It's a great idea. Great idea.
Thank you.
One of the questions I've been thinking a lot about is the class time. And it is challenging to be able to step outside of the curriculum and the standards and spend time on something like this. And I love how you're already thinking about next year. Are there any big changes you feel like you would make, or how did you kind of set it up? Was there a rubric, or how did you set them up for that success? That
I gave them a small, very basic rubric, and I actually also had all the kids in class grade them. So even afterwards, like some of the kids were like, hey, did they put all 3 graphs in? Did they do this? So some of them were like really challenging with the, grading. Others were really very, oh, I'm going to give everybody 100 and I'm going to give them 10 extra credit points or, whatever. But so I give them just a small, like I'm looking for the title slide with the names. I'm looking for, and so it was each thing was worth points. At the end, they needed their resources. So they got points for the resource slide. But I said in the middle, there was categories of persuasive, creative, and something, but as long as they had the graphs and the quotes and the things that they needed, they could get their points. Everything else was extra. Okay, they decided to interview, or they decided to throw in the extra things that weren't in any of the articles. They were just off the top of their head. So that went to creative. I also gave creative for the people. They got the audience involved and got them to talk. I will say that I learned that I need to teach them how to speak and present, because we were recording them, so I didn't keep stopping them. But literally some kids turned their back the whole time and wanted to look at the thing. And one of them wasn't looking at anything. So I was trying to teach them. I made them open a PowerPoint of their own here, have the PowerPoint behind them, but they were looking so that they felt more comfortable reading on the screen. So for me, I think I would prep them first with how to really present, and maybe we present easy things first, and then maybe a couple of months into the new year we do the presentation, and hopefully by then we've learned how to present and how to talk out loud, because even when we were recording it was hard to pick up sounds. So I learned that I need to teach them a little bit more about presentations. And I'll probably come up, with different articles and things, because I don't want them to have to use, since I teach all the same kids and they just keep filtering in, to the next grade. I want something different. But I still think, giving them a variety of choices, because they really liked the choice. And I thought this was a good thing to hit. Like we have, student voice, we have student, choice, we have the meaningful work, the teacher caring, because that's a way for you to get around and, oh, you learned that, oh, you see that, oh, that was great, and you give them all that positive feedback. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it again, and just doing those little tweaks for next year.
Yeah.